Mr. Billhorn and I got to watch a train for a couple minutes. So we're going to be on time until then. So I will call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, July 10th, and remind everyone, of course, that why we're here is that the School District of Milton, in partnership with our community, prepares our students for achievement and lifetime readiness by providing opportunities for all. Having said that, please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sure you're aware of any changes to our agenda.
There are no changes to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. So that's Rick's motion, seconded by John. How's that? All in favor of the agenda as you see it, signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes. The minutes are the next item of business, and those, of course, are in board docs.
I'll move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on June 26, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. That's Dave's motion, seconded by Tracy, to approve our meeting minutes. Questions on those? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. And opposed? That motion also clearly passes. I beg your pardon. I have my hammer, so you guys get out of line. Vouchers are next.
I'll move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $777,075.06 as presented.
I'll second that. Thank you. That's John's motion, seconded by Dave, to approve our checking account vouchers in the amount he just enumerated. Are there any questions on those? I hear none. All in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. That clearly passes also. Public comment is next, and as I came in, tardy as it was, I picked up the sheet, but no one had signed up to comment, so we will roll past that, and that brings us to Rich, superintendent update.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I want to highlight in the Red Hawk highlights. Last week, Friday was the last day of our summer school enrichment courses. We had a outstanding summer school year, an extensive lineup of courses for students. There are some academic courses that will continue through July, but our enrichment courses are finalized. And I want to thank Principal Stuckey for all of her work in organizing and hiring staff, lining up courses for summer school, and thank all of our teachers who make our summer school programs second to none. We really do have an outstanding summer school program. In getting out to a lot of the schools, saw students very active, learning and enjoying their time, and every teacher that I talked to and asked how things were going and said that it was a really good month of June in summer school and the first week of July. So we will continue to share highlights from summer school over social media over the next few weeks, but I wanted to let the board know that that was finalized and thank everyone for their work in putting that together. We have a couple of individual students that have had outstanding achievements here lately or coming up that I want to recognize. Lily Fulkins from Northside recently traveled to Orlando for the AAU National Gymnastics Meet, and Lily had a strong performance and ended up placing first in the all-around for her group. So congratulations to Lily for finishing first place in the National Olympic AAU National Gymnastics Meet. And also Aiden Sinclair, Red Hawk Wrestling State Champ. Aiden Sinclair is going to be traveling to represent the United States, traveling to Istanbul, Turkey later in July, where he'll be competing in the World Under-17 Championships, representing the United States in that competition. It's another outstanding achievement for Aiden, and we wish him safe travels and best of luck in his competition.
All right, any questions for Rich? Very good, thanks, Rich. 3 is presentations. A is our, it says annual, of course, which means we once a year get to visit with our folks in the healthcare world. Shelley Tofty and Melissa Forrett are our contracted folks from Fort Healthcare. So welcome and
Thank you. Hello.
share with us what you have been observing.
You said my name right. Thank you. My name is always pronounced wrong. Thank you. I'm Shelley Toffey, and this is Melissa. Hello. I'm just going to start out quick with a definition of school nursing from the National Association of School Nurses. It is a specialized practice of nursing. Protects and promotes student health, facilitates optimal development, and advances academic success. School nurses, grounded in ethical and evidence-based practice, are the leaders who bridge healthcare and education, provide care coordination, advocate for quality student-centered care, and collaborate to design systems that allow individuals and communities to develop to their full potential.
Okay, so Shelley and I are contracted for 65 hours a week. Shelley is 25 and I'm 40. We're employee support healthcare and we serve as a school district nurses for this district. We've been here since October. That's a total of 2,400 hours for the entire school year. The district also had 3 health aides at 40 hours per week for this past school year as well.
As she mentioned, we are staffed through Fort Healthcare, so a little bit there. There's other school districts that Fort Healthcare also staffs school nurses for. It has been a school nurse program through Fort Healthcare since December of 1995. We're good. Like I said, 11 area school districts also provide nursing services, but there's 20 nurses on our team, and has combined a total of over 144 years of school nursing experience. The program is unique because there's only one other program in the state of Wisconsin that's like this. So Fort Healthcare has one, and the other is through the Children's Hospital in Milwaukee. And they staff 11 nurses at public schools in the Milwaukee area. The Milton School District has the medical director through Fort Healthcare, Dr. Catherine Sweeney. She's a pediatrician through Fort Health's internal medicine and pediatric clinic. So she is, she provides orders for our emergency treatment, administration of stock emergency medication, as well as reviewing procedures and acting as a resource when we need her.
Okay. So the role of the school nurse. School nurses are essential in keeping kids in school. One of the slogans of NASN they kind of use is better health, better learning. So we want to make sure that kids are healthy, safe, they're in school, and they're ready to learn. Some of the ways that we ensure that that happens, that students are ready, is a school nurse is required to have a bachelor's degree. You have to have pediatric experience with communicable disease and how to track that and mitigate that. You have to be able to manage chronic health conditions, promote healthy behaviors in children, connect children and families to healthcare resources. We train staff to manage the student health needs within the district. We handle medical emergencies and do training for staff on how to handle medical emergencies. And then we perform healthcare screenings, which includes vision and hearing screenings.
And then up on the screen also is the Wisconsin state statute for stating that school districts should have medical care and the ability to provide emergency nursing services.
This one is the student presentations and education that we did this past school year. As you can see, the only thing that we were able to accomplish was the glow germ hand washing one. A lot of that was because we were both new to this role. So in the future, we have definitely big plans to increase those numbers. We were able to do all of the 4K classes. We did a glow germ hand washing class, which we taught every single 4K student that was in attendance that day, which they absolutely loved. The mission of Fort Healthcare is to improve the health and well-being of our community, and then their vision is to be the healthiest community in Wisconsin. So all of these things that are listed up there, Fort Healthcare has programs for that we're trained on how to do and how to teach these to students within the district. Our team has these resources, like I said, the trainings and informational classes that we attend. The graph shows the opportunities that we had to teach this year. We're always looking for more ways to get into the classrooms. And if you have any topics that you think as a board would be beneficial to our students, please share them with us, because that's something that we both truly care a lot about, is being in the classes.
In addition to the educational opportunities for students, school nursing also provides staff training for safe medication administration, basic first aid, American Heart Association CPR and first aid, stop the bleed, as well as training a medical emergency response team in each building to respond in medical events and provide care and administer emergency medications if needed. Just pictured are some of the emergency medications that may be prescribed to the students and stock. It could be stocked in the district. We do stock the EpiPens.
This is a slide that talks about the different staff trainings and presentations that we did. So there, if you can see on the left-hand side, it describes the training that they were provided, and then the right-hand side is the staff member that was actually trained. So we provide this to district staff that work during the regular school year, and then also the ones during summer school. DPI has training modules that they all have to complete. Then they have to take a quiz, and then after that, they're asked to do a hands-on portion where we have to physically watch them complete the procedure appropriately per the protocol. We go over treatment conditions specifically to the students that relate in our district. We also provide training to the emergency medical response teams, which we call our MERT teams. We do medical emergency response drills, which are staged in the buildings that are in conjunction with Project Adam. And that's to have all schools deemed safe, to be heart-safe schools. We, this year, did 205 total training sessions that were provided for the staff.
This slide goes over student health concerns within the district. We have the total enrollment listed there, 3,417 students enrolled, which varies throughout the year, but that's the average. Listed are the common chronic health conditions that students have, and the numbers that are reported, with 13% of enrolled students reported to have one or more chronic health conditions. The asterisks up there for 35 ADHD and 35 mental health diagnoses are just based on what's reported to us via Skyward on enrollment. We believe that number to be quite a lot higher than that. And mostly those are because those are students that are medicated during the school day. That's why we have those numbers there. But we do believe that number to be higher.
No, I just think the only thing is, like, when it says up there, like diabetes, that's definitely different and specific per diabetic student.
Yep.
So, you know, there's some kids who just use an insulin pen, some who use a needle in a pen, some who use a vial, some who use an insulin pump. There are students who use finger sticks, they use a glucometer, they use a continuous CGM, which is a glucose monitoring system. So that technology is ever changing with those students. And so 9 seems small, but 9 is actually big because there are a lot of things that go into play with those 9 students. This is the number of health room visits that were completed, kind of broken down by school. So this is the situations where so-and-so fell on the playground, they have an abrasion on their knee, they come into the health room office, and it's documented that the wound was cleaned, applied a Band-Aid, student was fine and went back to class. So these are reported by both of the nurse, so we can report them and chart them in Skyward, as well as any support staff in the school offices. They're all recorded in Skyward. The data is only as good as entered. So a huge thing in nursing is if you don't document it, you didn't do it. So these are the ones that were documented, which is something both of us really pushed hard for this school year to make sure that we were documenting everything that's done. So that's where those numbers all come from. The research says that students who have school nurses have less absenteeism. A school on average saves school staff time 60 minutes for principals, 20 minutes for teachers, and 45 minutes for support staff on average if there's a school nurse or health professional in the building. So that helps keep kids in classrooms if they're able to come down to the health office, get the treatment they need, and get back to class. Another thing on here also talks about the number of calls within all buildings. So those were the amount of times when an emergency response was called throughout a building for an actual medical emergency in the school. So that was 6 times that happened for the total of 8,000. You can see where they're broken down by the schools themselves as well.
The next slide goes over medication administration. Medication safety administration is an important part of the school nurse role, and the nurse administers or oversees the administration of the list of medications throughout the year. Scheduled medications, 6,928 scheduled medications were given this year. They include any oral or topical medications that were given on a regularly scheduled basis. These can be both prescription or over the counter. As needed medications can be over the counter or prescription and are given just when necessary, not on a routine basis. For as needed, there was 1,837 medications administered. Inhalers and insulin administration totals are not included in the scheduled or as needed doses. Students in middle and high school are allowed to self-carry emergency and over-the-counter pain relievers with the parent and or medical provider permission, and assigned medication administration form on file for the school year indicating self-carry. So that's not included in these numbers if students are giving their medications to themselves. Thankfully, no emergency medications were given this school year, and that all totals together for 10,435 medication administration this school year.
This slide talks about the nurse involvement. Because nurses are involved across the care of students across the district, this includes creating health plans for people, emergency action plans, evaluating, assessing, and reporting and attending meetings related to IEPs and 504s. As nurses of the district, we're also able to provide the 3-dose hepatitis B vaccine series for staff. The district also bills for Medicaid for students that might meet criteria for reimbursement. The total amount of revenue for the district from these billable nursing services this year was $3,782.45, and that was as of June 15th. The numbers up here show that there were 28 individual health plans written for students this year. Between the two of us, we attended 11 IEP meetings. We attended 2 504 meetings. We wrote 24 action and or emergency plans. There's 14 students in our districts that we bill services for, and then we did not give any hepatitis B vaccinations to staff this year.
Immunizations, let's see here. 99% of the student population is compliant under immunizations. Total students who meet minimum requirements, is 93.5%. And with that number is any students with waivers is 5 have health waivers, 11 have religious waivers, and 186 have personal conviction waivers.
This slide talks about the health screenings that we completed this year. So we perform and arrange hearing and vision screenings performed throughout the district. We routinely screen children 4K through 3rd and 6th grade for vision, and then 4K in 3rd and 6th grade for hearing, as well as any students that are new to the district. They're also able to be screened at the request of a student that may be struggling or their concerns about vision or hearing. They're also able to be screened by us. The Milton and Edgerton Lions Club assisted us with the vision screenings. So we screened 1,317 students in total. We referred 135 to providers, and then 32 of them were given new vision prescriptions for glasses. We did not provide any vouchers for any of these services. For the hearing, we did hearing screenings independently on our own between just the health staff. So we did 1,286 children that we screened. 17 of them were referred, and 1 treatment was required. So when we find a deficit, what we do is we send a referral form home to the parents, and they then are requested to have their student either vision or hearing tested by a medical provider. And then once they receive that and they take their child to the doctor or provider for that service, there's a form we have filled out and sent back to us. So we can only account for the ones that are sent back. hopefully more than 32 people actually took their children and got care for the vision, or had them at least re-screened by their pediatrician to see if there was a deficit or not. But those are the ones that we did receive back from them.
Another service that we used this year was through, this is actually new to the school district this year, we went through Wisconsin Seal a Smile to provide dental health services to students. They provide dental in all grades. They did dental services. They perform an exam, provide sealants, fluoride treatments, and cleanings. If the student is found to need additional dental work, a referral for care is made. And then there's programs available to assist with payment that treatment. There are programs available to assist with payment for that treatment if it is a barrier to the student's family. 143 students within the district-wide participated, 296 sealants were given, and 30 students were given referrals for more care.
This chart talks about the communicable diseases that were reported to us in the past school year. So you can see the numbers. There was no chickenpox, 243 COVID reported, 13 hand, foot, and mouth, 21 influenza, 0 impetigo, 7 head lice, 4 mono, 22 pink eye, 0 scabies, and 90 strep throat. So obviously communicable disease is spread to one another through body fluids, airborne, could be bitten by an insect, things like that. All of those things listed are things that we do watch for. Those are the ones that are often most reported to school. The biggest problem with these numbers is that these do not get routinely documented appropriately because parents don't always call us and tell us why their kids are home. So it may seem like these numbers may be low. I guarantee there was more strep throat than 90 this school year because there was a lot of it. But if parents don't tell us that their kid has strep throat, then we don't know about it. We can only report the ones that were actually reported. But those are the numbers of the things that we saw this past year.
All right, next up is goals. For last school year, the previous nurse, Brittany, had established 3 goals for this school year. The first one was to implement at least 1 MERT training drill at each school, which we were able to do. And this year, goal number 2 was to streamline the field trip preparation procedure that includes teacher roles and communication to the health team. We were able to get a process that we are going to utilize this next school year and streamline it. And then goal number 3 was to establish a monthly health team meeting and meet 80% of the time with all 4 health aides present. We were able to accomplish that for 100%. Every month we had a meeting with 100% attendance.
So these are our goals for this next school year. We want to continue working on streamlining this field trip process across the district. We've kind of taken parts from different schools and kind of put it together, and we have a really good plan going forward on how we're going to make it a district process. We'd like to collaborate more with school psych and counselors about mental health, as that's a huge rising concern within the school district populations all over. And then another one is we would really like to increase our involvement within the IEP and 504 meeting process. We did a webinar not long ago before school was over that talked about how nurses should truly be involved in probably 85% of IEPs and 504s, because something like mental health, we have background in mental health and we should be a part of those conversations as well. So there's a lot of things that we want to be more active in, and that's where that goal comes from. That's it.
That's it. That's all we have for the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
The visits and medications that you administer, are those numbers typical with previous years, or is there a lot of fluctuation in those from year to year, or kind of a baseline that just is kind of forward?
It's a lot.
It
really
is a
is
lot.
but it adds up quickly, that's for sure.
I think when we looked back at the last year's, it was close. The year before, it was close to similar. A lot of the same kids are getting the same medications every year, give or take, a group. But I think the numbers were definitely close to the last year's from Brittany's information, numbers that we had.
Thanks for the presentation and for everything that you and all the other health staff do to keep our kids healthy. Really appreciate it. I thought that dental program was fantastic. I know that there's a lot of families that.
It was fantastic. We
Yeah.
actually
There was
just
lots to
got,
work with too.
we just got, Julia, didn't we just get that? I just looked at it, the email with the actual data.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was, there was like 22,000 of dollars in dental work that were done within our district that charged the family zero.
Yeah, they didn't get charged.
That's
They don't get charged anything. They don't get a bill, even if they have insurance, no insurance, Medicaid, they don't get any bill at all. So our goal was, by doing all grades, is to hope that we would encourage more people to continue to utilize this program.
Yeah.
And they were wonderful to work with, Seal Smile was.
I also think it's, I love to see the CPR training for the staff. Do any of the buildings have augmented defibrillators?
All of them, yep.
They do.
We have how many? 10?
There's 7 at high school.
Yeah, so there's a lot. There's 7 in different places, and then we have 1.
Every building, even the district office has one.
Yeah, so maybe there's like 15. There's a lot of them. We do monthly checks on them, to make sure that the batteries are working, the pads are appropriate, everything is good. So, they're definitely, we did a lot of fun trainings this year, to make sure that people knew how to use them. So they're definitely around.
Awesome, thank you.
I would echo the thanks from the board here for everything you do for our kids. Tell us a little about the logistics, right? We've got 7 buildings, 8 if you include this one. What does your workday look like? Do you start at a home base and then travel, or tell us?
Yeah, so I'll talk about mine first. So I'm here 40 hours a week. My home base is west. That's where my office is, and that's because that has the highest need of medical kids there. But that's where my home office is. This past year, was at Northside a couple days a week. I try and hit all of my schools. I'm fortunate that I have some really awesome support staff who do a really good job and keep me in the loop on what's happening. But that's kind of where I spend my time is I'm always available. I go to the different schools as needed. I try and hit every school once a week. But most of my time, I would say, is spent between West and Northside, because those are the highest needs, medical needs, within my 5 schools, which is Northside and the elementaries.
Then I did the middle and high school. My office is at the high school, and there was a health aid staff there full time. And then I was at the middle school Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, sitting in the office and doing the health office visits in the mornings. And then any of the open time I had would be for meetings, staff trainings. So I would make sure, we both wanted to make sure we have time available for those things. So going back and forth, I went back and forth a lot this week, just missed, so just as needed.
Very good. Anyone else?
I have a few questions. So sorry to circle back and again, thank you for everything you guys do. So what happens when you're not at a school and there's an emergency?
So if there is, so we have a MERT team, emergency response team at every school. So every school has, let's say, 5 people that are trained in CPR, first aid, and how to manage medical emergencies. And we do those trainings with them. So if there's an emergency, always the first call is to your MERT team, second call is to 911, third call is to me, if it's truly a medical emergency. And so they have steps, they do a great job with managing them, and then they always kind of call me. If I'm close or I'm there, then obviously I'm kind of the one who's running the show if I'm there. If I'm not, I'm on my way. So I'm coming to wherever they need me to be.
And the students would know that, so I think I'm more referencing, like you said, high school rather than a school, where they're more into self-care. Obviously the millennials would go to the office, but from an older kid, if there was an emergency, would they know who to go to? There's no nurse on site, like if someone had an emergency.
Yeah, if there was an emergency, I mean, I suppose we could train the students too, but all the staff should know how to call a medical emergency. Call the front office and they'll take it from there. It's basically how we have the schools trained. Both of us have cell phones on us, so we're available whether we're in a car on our way to another school or whatever, so we have, all the schools know our cell phone numbers. So we can be.
And I think pretty much everyone in every building knows where the health office is. Most of those are within the actual office for the most part, except for a few that are outlying. But I think for the most part, everyone knows where the health office is and would know if it's a If it's a school that has a health office that's outside of the office, those are kind of the ones that have someone staffed in them. So like West has someone 24 hours, like, or not 24 hours, all the school day hours, sorry, is always there. You know, like and that's, they know where to go. Everyone knows. You know, East is in the office, but they have support staff that is their medical team. Same thing with Harmony Consolidated, their stuff is all in the office.
Going back to your presentation, so back on the student presentations and education, you have listed here the personal hygiene and then the puberty hygiene, human growth and development. How would you integrate that with the current lessons that the school's already providing?
So that was something, I think pretty much all of the other Fort Healthcare school nurses do their own, other than us. So they're not taught within a classroom, they're taught by the school nurses themselves. And so that was something that we learned this year, is that it was done within the classroom itself. And so we're available if needed to help with that process, but we haven't been this school year.
You should incorporate the possible nursing, but.
Yeah, and
For future years, for sure,
we would love to, because
Coordinate
there's a
with
lot of stuff of trainings
Yeah.
that we have, that we could definitely be of assistance in that. We just were not this year, and I don't know if that's something new or if that's kind of how things have been.
we can have that to our goals for sure. I like that one, yeah, for sure.
On the staff emergency training, I get a regular question too. What about Narcan in our schools?
That's on our radar. We do not currently have Narcan stocked in any of our schools, but it is a huge initiative that's coming. We have dabbled a little bit in conversation about it, but we currently do not have it, and there's no policy for Narcan within the district.
That's something the district.
Does our SRO carry Narcan?
Yes. He has it.
I thought he probably would, but.
I did discuss with Officer Schneider quite a bit about getting the ball rolling for this, so that's something, I didn't want to put that on our goals for next year on the presentation, but it's definitely on our radar to get that in the schools as quickly as we possibly can, but being new to this role, I don't know what all that entails. So it's definitely on our radar. I personally carry Narcan on myself.
And I have Narcan on myself as
I
well.
have it in the
Yeah,
scary world that we live in.
Yeah.
I personally
Yeah, we
have
both.
it, and the, Officer Schneider did ask me, he asked me if we stocked it. I personally carry it on me, so.
So we both have it in our bags, our go bags, for anywhere we go, we both have it on us. We went to our Narcan training through Rock County, and that's where we were given it. And we can get more, but it would be best case scenario to have Narcan in every single school.
Yeah, and they've talked about having them available, like literally in a box right next to the EVs.
Yeah, so like FE, AED, Narcan, is where it really should be.
I think I would tell that.
Sorry, I just have a couple more questions. When I go to the schools, is it the significant decrease from intermediate to middle school? Is that where you start to see because students can self-medicate? Because obviously you go from north side of 3,200 visits to middle school of 926. Like, is it?
I think so. I think a big part of it too is what we can only go by the numbers that are documented. The middle school is one that we're definitely getting, there's not health aides that are staffed all the time. So I was there the morning hours on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then the health aide was there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But the rest of the day and the all afternoons, it's just the office staff managing health office visits. So whether they don't have the time to document, or whatever the case may be, that number may not be 100% accurate. I've tried to encourage as much as I could, give yourself the credit. Like if somebody comes in, document it. Let's get those numbers up. I wish I had the numbers from last year's presentation, because it was like, I think it was under 200.
Yeah,
For the middle school is all that they had documented. So that number has gone up, but realistically, I do think that there is a difference between that age group of Northside
for sure.
and how often they come out, the frequent flyers, the repeat offenders, the ones that come a lot. And there's a health aid staff all the time that documents everything.
Northside has a lot of health visits, a lot.
A lot.
They probably give the most medications. They have the most, I would bet, office visits, single school. I mean, they have a lot of kids there, but they have a lot of visits, a lot.
Elementary is all
All of them combined.
is more than that one intermediate.
Yeah, but,
Less.
yeah, that's
That's what I was kind of.
100% accurate.
Wow. Sorry, I just have two more quick ones, sorry. So on the immunization audit, you
Yeah.
have students with no vaccines at 0. Is that including the 186 for personal conviction waiver or excluding?
That's
Excluding,
That's the no, there's no record.
yeah,
Period.
so like,
So
that
that's
means
just the
they,
students with nothing.
no
record,
record,
no
okay.
waiver. We have 0 of that. So it's either a waiver or a record.
Or record, okay, so it doesn't mean that we don't have any students that don't have a vaccine, it's that we have.
it just, yes,
Okay, thank you, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the last question was on the dental, services. So we had 143 students, but 296 sealants. Is it like?
There was like students with 20 plus in just one.
that they gave.
I
that they
actually
sealed.
witnessed one that received, I think, 18 to 20.
So it's multiple sealants per child.
Per child. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so sometimes they'll seal all 4 molars on somebody, or sometimes they'll seal, you know, multiple things, multiple areas.
By 2.
Yes,
Yep,
so I
exactly.
yep.
Gotcha. And then who takes the expense for that? So you said $22,000 worth of dental care was provided.
HealthNet. It all goes to HealthNet, and that's who covers that. So Wisconsin Seal Smile works through HealthNet. And the person that we work with through Rock County through HealthNet is named Tori, and she's the one who we directly deal with.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Yeah,
You're very welcome.
thank you so much.
Great information, great update.
Thank you.
4 is our 2023-24 student and family handbook update. Not an action item for us. This is an FYI type thing.
Yeah, we have provided in board docs the 3 separate handbooks. There's a set handbook for grades 4K through 6, and then 7th and 8th grade has a separate handbook, and 9 through 12. It really is a way that we communicate procedures, practices, required information that we're required to share out with families are included in these handbooks. So they are provided for both students and families at the start of each year.
Any questions on those? Okay. All right, 5 is new business. Item A is discussion and possible action on student academic standards. This is an annual thing that we do all the time, and it gives me a chance to welcome our new Director of Teaching and Learning, Julie Musgrove.
Thank you.
So welcome, Julie.
So it was shared in board docs, just the template of what our academic standards are. So essentially, the academic standards attempt to identify what our scholars should know and be able to do in the classroom within a given subject or content area. So the standards serve as goals for our scholar learners. It provides guides for our classroom instruction, and then framework for the assessments that we're providing for our scholars. So it's really a critical foundation for the development of each of our scholars and within the curriculum that we are serving for our scholars. So, but the academic standards that will be in effect for our school year this year, Wisconsin state statute requires school boards to provide public notice of the student academic standards that are going to be adopted by the board. And so that's provided here of our next year, so 23-24, and it breaks down from content areas, and then it goes into what our scholars will have for their academic standards. So essentially, there's links that are provided for the Common Core, along with the Wisconsin DPI websites. So all the different content areas are below. So I didn't know if you had any particular questions after reviewing. This is day 5 on my job, so essentially,
In general, the teachers take a look at the state and national standards. They use a portion of their professional learning community time to write common assessments for the standards, identify essential standards, write common formative assessments for those standards. And then we go through a regular curriculum review cycle where we update our curriculum based on the standards in that content area.
Do the creators of textbooks and other learning materials have some way of certifying or having some third-party review and say, you know, this textbook complies or meets or is recommended for the various standards that are put in here, or how do those materials get laid up against the standards and be assessed as these are good materials versus maybe less than adequate materials or whatever?
So they follow the Common Core. Many companies, when we're looking at curriculum adoptions of the materials, so we just adopted 2 for our K-6, so we have for K-8. So we have Wit and Wisdom that we are doing for 4th through 8th grade for our ELA, and then we have Wonders, that is our K-3. So essentially, when they were going through that cycle of looking at the curriculum, they really looked to see the alignment with the Common Core along with our Wisconsin public instruction state standards. So essentially, that's how we really look at curriculum to determine what is going to be the best curriculum that is going to allow for our scholars to have the best outcomes. And so many times, a lot of districts, what we do is we pilot different programs to see which one is really going to be the best fit and kind of work through that curriculum cycle when it comes to, but Common Core standards really is kind of the starting point, and then you look at your state standards on top of it and how that all aligns. Does that answer your question? Kind of, sort of? It depends on all the different companies. They really go off of Common Core standards, essentially.
I think one thing to add to that too, Brian Bubble spoke a couple times when we were looking at our ELA curriculum adoption, that there are education groups that do exactly what you asked about, Dave, that look at how well that particular curricular resource meets the different standards, and they'll give I think it's a green rating to different curriculum offerings that meet those standards. And as we work through our options, we start by looking at those that have that green rating.
Any other questions for Julie?
I'll make a motion to approve the student academic standards for 2023-24 as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. That is Rick's motion, seconded by Dave, to approve our student academic standards. Questions on the motion? All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Second piece of new business is discussion and possible action on the Go Right Way 2018-2023 transportation contract amendment.
There is a memo in board docs that highlights the information with Go Right Way. As you can see in the memo, as one of the terms in our contract is that we engage in annual negotiations with Go Right Way to talk about the rates for the following school year and to determine any changes to those rates and extension of the current contract. We have come to a mutual agreement and are presented the negotiated extension agreement for board approval. And there's a couple of things that I want to highlight from that agreement. It includes a rate increase for routes of 5% for the 23-24 school year. The contract is extended for 4 years to include the 27-28 school year. Without the extension, this coming year would be the last year of the contract. The rates, there's a change in the language in the contract to detail that the rates will be adjusted annually by the CPI with a minimum increase of 3% and a maximum increase of 8%. And Go Right Way is required to have general liability insurance coverage. The industry standard is $5 million of coverage. We have in our current contract a requirement of an additional $5 million in excess liability. As part of our negotiations, we are proposing to remove that requirement for the additional $5 million and keep in place the industry standard of $5 million. We have an excellent working relationship with Go Right Way. As with a lot of other businesses, hiring has been difficult over the past few years. They've done a really nice job of looking for bus drivers. They have had to increase pay for bus drivers, as many private businesses have for their staff to be able to attract and retain staff. So in our conversation with them, I think they said that 3 times over the last year and a half, they've raised their rates for bus drivers to be able to attract people. And it has worked. We've had considerably fewer issues with not having enough bus drivers compared to a lot of our school districts, both in our area and across the state, both for our regular routes and for our extra routes for athletics and activities. So we've been very happy with our work with Go Right Way. It's a very strong partnership, and recommend approving the extension through the 27-28 school year. One of the things one of the strong reasons to extend the contract is that if the contract does run out and we go out for bids with bus companies, there's no guarantee that there will be any bus companies that would bid. There's fewer and fewer companies providing that service, and it's almost a certainty, and based on our conversations with other districts and with Go Right Way, that even if Go Right Way were to bid, if we went out to bids, their bid and any from other companies wouldn't be as favorable to the school district as what we currently have with Go Right Way. So we strongly feel that what we have in place is a good win-win for both the school district and for Go Right Way, and have a recommended motion to approve the amendment. It's amendment number 3 to the contract as presented. The other document that's in board docs is the specifics of the contract as currently in place.
Rich, do you know, with the 3% floor and the 8% ceiling for adjustments, is that each anniversary of the contract, is the cost of fuel set? 'Cause I noticed it's like $3.11 a gallon in the base here. Is it a market rate day to day, or is it just for the next 12 months the fuel rate is X, and that's
I'm going to ask Terry to come up and speak to the specifics on the fuel, because I will give a really, really high level, but the details she has better than me.
All right. We're gonna talk specifics, but we're still gonna talk at a high level. That's all right. So in the contract itself, there is a fuel price, a base fuel price, if you looked at the rate, the document that was attached. And so that base fuel price per gallon will increase at the same rate as the entire contract increases. And then there is also an escalator clause in the contract that when fuel goes beyond that we absorb the cost. So it will increase with the CPI, but if it goes beyond that, then there's an escalator clause that we won't pay more for fuel.
So if it goes
Specific
below
enough,
that-
get high enough? What's that?
What if it goes below that base rate? Do we get any kind of credit?
No, we do not.
It just be reflected in the 3% floor?
Yeah, think of it as a floor. That's a good way to think of it. The fuel price is a floor.
Carrie, can you I want to make sure that the board members are clear on how that fuel price per gallon comes into play in the district's costing. Can you explain how our rates, we have the rates that are listed there for our routes, but then how does that base fuel price per gallon come into play?
Okay, still trying to stay at a high level without getting into the details of the escalator clause. What happens is when the fuel price exceeds that required, they will send us a separate invoice for fuel. So last year, we paid an additional approximately $45,000 for fuel because the price of diesel had gone up so much from the $2.96 that was in here last year. So they will send us a monthly billing for that. And they calculated based on how many gallons they purchase, how many gallons we use. And then they calculate the consumption and then charge us that additional cost per gallon based on gallons of fuel used.
So base fuel price per gallon of $3.11, that's for diesel?
This is diesel, correct?
So right now, they're saying that they can get diesel for $3.11?
No, this is a number that was negotiated in the contract when the contract originated in 2018. So, no, they won't, which is why we want that to go up at least with the contract. There was a conversation about freezing it, as we discussed, and we did not accept that proposal. We said at the least that it needs to go up with the contract.
And I venture to guess, they don't pay retail on diesel, they're buying. The contract,
yeah.
10,000 gallons of it, so the retail price we can see at a gas pump is.
It seems a little counterintuitive, but a higher base fuel price per gallon is better for the district because that's where it has to get above that for those additional payments to kick in.
It just seems like we're conceding on a couple other items, but they're not, are they conceding to raise that number? This is what we're approving tonight.
Yes, they asked to freeze it at a lower number, and we wanted to keep it being increased at the same rate as the rides.
They had actually pushed for a lower number, and we responded with that not being acceptable, and that we needed to stay status quo on that. I don't know how far we would have gotten if we had asked for more than status quo.
So we already know that we're gonna be behind this contract right now because you can't get diesel free to again. Unless they can.
There will be an additional cost. The contract doesn't have to reflect necessarily what we anticipate paying for fuel. It's just, it's part of the overall package and cost of providing transportation is how I look at it. And we definitely didn't want it set at a lower number.
And again, that's not reflective of retail fuel costs, but it also provides ceiling for costs of repairing buses, maintaining buses, purchasing buses, labor to drive the bus is all encompassed in here as well. And while it's not broken out on a line item for those, they're all baked into the regular routes that have to absorb them regardless of what they do. We discussed this at length in committee level, and there's a lot of areas that go into it. And I know, just speaking for myself, was satisfied that we not only got good service with right way, but had done so at a price that was reasonable to the district. With that in mind, I would make a motion to approve the 2023-24 amendment number 3 to the 2018-2023 Go Right Way contract as presented.
Second.
Dave's motion is seconded by Rick to approve our amendment to our Go Right Way contract. Are there any questions? All in favor of that motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
All right, new business is done. Miscellaneous. A is the staffing report.
I'll move to approve the staff report as presented.
Second.
Thank you. That was Rick's motion, seconded by Jennifer to approve our staffing report. Are there questions on it? I hear none. All in favor of approving the staffing report signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. B is gifts and donations. That list is included in board docs, and it is $6,558.
I'd move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second that.
Thank you. John's motion is seconded by Dave to approve our gifts and donations with the gratitude of the board and the district. Questions? All in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Just a little preemptive with that. Sorry about that. A little presumptive. Meeting dates, Rich.
We have a number of upcoming meeting dates. I'll lead with our next regularly scheduled board meeting is on Monday, July 24th, 2 weeks from tonight at 6:30 here in the PDC. And then this week we have a couple committee meetings. Excuse me. All of these are on Wednesday, July 12th. We start the day with a strategic planning committee meeting at 8 a.m. Then we have a HR committee meeting at 10 a.m. and a HR committee meeting for MBA negotiations at 11 a.m. So all three of those are on Wednesday, July 12th. Strategic planning committee meeting at 8, HR committee at 10, HR committee meeting for negotiations at 11. Then on Thursday this week, we have a finance committee meeting. That's Thursday at noon in the first floor conference room. That will be our last committee meeting with Carrie Bradley in place, and it will be our first finance committee meeting with Ross Pearson. So Ross is here tonight as he started on July 1st, so welcome to Ross. And then we have a policy committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday, August 2nd, and we originally had looked at 5:30, but we are checking with committee members to see about their availability from pushing that back to a 6:30 start. Rick's work schedule has changed, so he's not available at 5:30. So for policy committee members, would August 2nd at 6:30 p.m. work? Seeing both heads now, so that would be a 6:30 p.m. policy committee meeting. And then we have a board data workshop on Monday, August 7th at 6:30 p.m. So the first Monday in August. That is it for upcoming meetings and committee meetings.
Rich, what time is the meeting on the 7th again?
August 7th is at 6:30.
All right, good on meeting dates? All right, we are scheduled for an exec session, but prior to doing that, Rich already indicated the bit of overlap we got with our business manager position, and I would like to echo Rich's welcome to Ross McPherson. Glad that you're with us, and we'll get to learn a lot more from you as we move forward. But I really want to take a moment, as this is probably the last board meeting with Carrie Bradley, and I want to extend on behalf of the board our sincere thank you and appreciation for all that you have done for us. Your job of educating board members was ongoing and it's sometimes arduous, but you did get us to a level that we can understand a lot of what you do. And you have my sincere appreciation, and I would think the rest of the board as well. So for all of us, thanks for everything you did for the kids in our district. Okay, and as I mentioned, we're going to have an executive session. We are not scheduled to come back to open, so we will adjourn from there. So I would entertain a motion pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985 sub 1 and E and Statute 1982 sub 1, which is deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And subject matter will be review of negotiations with MEA and our next steps. So moved. Second. Thank you. That was Rick's motion, seconded by Dave. Poll the audience for the motion on the floor. Dave? Yes. John? Yes. Tracy?
Yes.
Rick? Yes. Joe is yes. Jennifer?
Yes.
And yes. I move there. I count 7-0. We are in executive session. Boy, I have a lot of